Toronto region in the last 5 years has created more tech jobs than San Francisco and New York combined. So just let that sink in for a second, right?
All right, guys, I'm just here with my good friend Johnny Tan. You might have seen us in a lot of photos together on my Instagram. He's the director of Asia at Toronto Global, and he's responsible for markets like Korea, Japan, and India, trying to help recruit jobs back to Toronto. But I can't explain what he does better than Johnny Tan, so please elaborate on what you do.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me today, Ray. It is an honor and privilege to talk to your subscribers and your rabid, fan base of sorts. As your expertise in real estate speaks for itself, second to none.
Humbled.
Yeah. Respectfully yours. But thanks for having me again. My name is Johnny Tan, and I run our Asia team at Toronto Global. Very simply put, Toronto Global is an economic development agency, 100% government funded. We're funded by the federal level government, the province of Ontario, and then the cities that make up the Greater Toronto region. And we help companies enter Toronto. We go out, we sell, we pitch, and we provide free consulting service for them to land in Toronto, create jobs, have an economic impact. So I can get a little bit more detail later on to explain some of the services we actually do, but we want to go attract companies, get them here, create jobs, create economic growth in Toronto, in the Toronto region.
So what I noticed was during COVID, some Asian countries did a phenomenal job of containing it. And to be fair, Toronto did a pretty decent job as well.
Right.
Maybe not as great as some Asian countries, but a very, very reasonable job at containing COVID. Is Toronto still a desirable place to relocate jobs to right now and to have a satellite office or maybe even a North American head office?
Pre-COVID, we're really hitting our stride. Toronto's really becoming a top destination and contender internationally for companies to expand internationally, right? We put ourselves right at the conversation with the San Franciscos, the Bostons, the New Yorks, the Londons, and the Singapores of the world, where supply chain wise, talent access wise, academic wise, you need to be there, right? And Toronto was right there. To give you context, Toronto region is the fastest growing city region in all of North America last year. The report just came out. And tech, right? Tech's kind of what's driving the buzz right now in North America. AI, smart city, IoT stuff. Toronto region in the last 5 years has created more tech jobs than San Francisco and New York combined. So just let that sink in for a second, right? Obviously, the number of tech jobs to start with is much larger in those regions because they've had a little bit of a head start and they're focused on tech. But we're shifting and we are catching right up, and we are right there as a contender and a very viable, if not better option, all things considered. So to answer your question, and without getting into too much details, we were already a very viable and good option. And in the last 2 to 3 months during the COVID pandemic and the lockdown economically, we've actually seen 10, 12 wins, what we call actual investment commitments, come through amidst a global health pandemic. So that speaks to not just the hard work of the team here at Toronto Global, but more so the value proposition and the strength of the Toronto region that we've built up, or the city has built up in the last little bit.
Specifically, what is it about Toronto that attracts people, and what is it about Toronto that puts us on the radar even to get us in that conversation?
Toronto has offered world-class talent, not just tech, but what's driving a lot of the conversation and getting our foot in the door, so to speak, with some of the companies is definitely the tech talent, right? Stuff as really global leaders in stuff like artificial intelligence, where the godfather of AI is Dr. Jeffrey Hinton, and he created that machine learning in the 80s at the University of Toronto. Now that is being really implemented across all sectors. So all those things considered, is really the talent availability in Toronto is driving that conversation. The competitive cost associated with the same talent. So for example, I don't like to say cheaper talent. I like to say comparable and right, like talent that's comparable to, let's say, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, Denver, Boston, New York, the tech hubs in the United States. Our level of tech and our level of talent is right there with them. But whether it's because of cost of living, the exchange rate, corporate tax rates, the cost to operate business is much cheaper in Toronto. Now you factor in things like Toronto and Canada as the only G7 member with free trade agreements with all the other members. You can now have a diversified supply chain. You can move your talent overseas. You can sell from Canada into the US, into the EU, free of tariff in a lot of different sectors, right? Combine that with an open immigration and a welcoming immigration process. You contrast it with what's happening in the US right now, where they're tightening immigration, tightening foreign worker visas. Canada is not only welcoming it, we're opening up with open arms. We want to collaborate to make the world a better place. All those things considered make Canada and Toronto specifically really the top destination for companies to expand. It just makes sense all around.
So when you say talent, do you mean the universities around us that just pumps out grads?
That's exactly it, right? We have world-class university and academic institutions in the Toronto region, whether that's University of Toronto, whether that's a college like Sheridan College, which has a world-class video game program, whether it's Ryerson with its wonderful business program, with its incubator DMZ, which is world-renowned now. Toronto grows our own talent. We attract talent because of, again, the value proposition, attractiveness to the city, and we retain the talent because why? When they're here, they can grow and they can raise a family. And from there, we have professionals like yourself help a lot of these talent come in and settle in wherever it is they feel that they can grow and settle their family, whether it is downtown core in a condo in Liberty Village, or it is in a nice townhome in the York region in Vaughan, which is fast and very rapidly growing in terms of young professionals. So to answer your question, yes, talent meaning the students, and then also the employers, available employees that these companies are looking for, right? Right now, asset for investors is who can they hire. They can hire people, they will follow the talent. That's we say investments follow talent globally.
Can you tell us about some wins that we've had during COVID, or even, never mind COVID, can you tell us of some recent wins in the last year or so?
Our organization launched in February of 2017. We were the representative office. We did the Amazon HQ2 bid for Toronto and the Toronto area. To date, we've had over 100 wins in 3 years, 100 wins, $1 billion in projected capital expenditure in the region, and over 4,000 jobs created in the Toronto area. You know, really good ones that we're really proud of. HSBC, you know, set up their artificial intelligence research lab here in Toronto. Samsung established an AI lab in downtown core in the Mars Discovery District. Not coincidentally, a couple of months after, LG came in and established a research hub in Toronto. We also have really cool and kind of different approaches, like, you know, we help Jollibee set up in the Toronto region. We help, and during COVID, Babylon, the health digitized service provider that raised the largest funding, VC funding in the history of life science companies, $500 million, chose Toronto to set up during COVID, during pandemic. A lot of that obviously is because it's circumstantially driven, because the need to digitize and to offer remote health services. But they could have set up anywhere in North America. They chose Toronto region because of all the things we're talking about. During a pandemic, the major South Korean retail food player, Pear Spaghetti, all over the world, over 3,000 outlets, chose to stick with their previous projection and announce that they are coming to the Toronto region. Right? Again, investors have confidence, and this speaks volumes about the strength of Toronto and the Toronto area, and the stability of the economy and the resilience of again the economy here, that it'll not only ride it out but bounce back and recover very quickly.
All right, Johnny, in 2 minutes or less, what I'm having a lot of conversations about with people is that they're uncertain about if they need to work downtown, or because of this work from home transition at the moment because of COVID, maybe they don't need to be in the office as much as they used to. So they're debating, should we still try to find a home downtown, or should we save a little bit of money and move to the suburbs, or maybe get a bit more in the suburbs?
Right.
Are you finding that these companies choose to locate downtown? And your personal opinion on face-to-face, work from home, where do you think this trend is going?
I think, and this is from personal opinion, also with conversations with companies, is that the evolution of work policy, whether it's office versus remote, will change forever after COVID, and it will be a shift in evolution, not complete to everybody working from home, because we understand that certain functions like sales, client engagement, team building, brainstorm, you still have to have the face-to-face interaction to facilitate certain collision of ideas and so on and so forth. But what we're going to see is that companies are going to be a lot more nimble and flexible with allowance of working from home. So we would encourage your clients and talent and employees in Toronto to now they can open the scope of their search. So a similar budget, they can now look maybe further from the city center, because maybe that aligns with their lifestyle, right? They only have to commute downtown once or twice a week versus before 4 or 5 times. So depending on who it is, I believe that it's actually opportunistic for a real estate professional like yourself, because now you can present more options for the same budget to a young family, to a fresh grad, to whether it's upsizing, downsizing, to your clients. I think what it does is now we can give you the creativity, again, as the real estate professional, to really, create a lifestyle and create a dream home for your clients. So I would say that. I would say it's going to create more freedom, more flexibility, and more options. So it's actually a good thing for the talent and your clients and your contacts post-COVID.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that they should really evaluate their role, evaluate the corporate culture that they have at their office if working from home is okay, and based on that, assess if there is a need to even be downtown as frequently as they used to. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. That was my good friend Johnny Tan from Toronto Global, Director of Asia. If you have more questions about what he does or just companies that are coming to Toronto, I'm going to put his contacts below so that you can reach him at any point. Thanks for watching.